protest. They were just protesting at the NFL game in London again this week. So that's why it grew into the size of the issue that it is.
And once again, we have politics muddying the waters of what could be a clear issue. Now, listen, I may not necessarily agree that the federal government can enter in and try to regulate police powers. Obviously, federal civil rights issues, I believe they can regulate through legislation. I think it's a fine line. But at the same time, we have politics muddying the waters because I think that with every movement, it's getting co-opted by other people. Do you see that coming either from the left or from the right, trying to change what the message was originally being?
Oh, absolutely. Even I'll give you a perfect analogy. If you look at when the Tea Party started,
exactly what I was thinking.
A whole bunch of people who were really intense had a very specific issue, and then you had political action committees and the RNC come in and try to co-opt it and change their message and turn them into a political apparatus as opposed in a voter base as opposed to actually fighting for their issues. It's the same thing with this issue. These the people who are protesting, all they want is anybody, Republican, Democrat, Liberal, Conservative, Green Party, Martian, to come out and say we're introducing legislation and we're going to pass legislation to just tamp down the number. We know at some point that there's certain individuals that they're posing an actual threat to law enforcement. My older sister is a police officer for 30 years in the Charlotte area. So I respect and want to protect our police officers, but just some of the trigger-happy officers who their first response to anything is to shoot first. That is all they are asking for. And so when you turn it into a left-right issue, when you turn it into a liberal versus conservative issue, when we turn it into an anti-Trump issue, now we've gotten so far from the point that I think a lot of people who were protesting don't know what the original point was, and a lot of people who are mad at the protesters also don't know what the original point was.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people who are just joining recently into this issue are protesting in direct response to the president using strong language, using the term SOB in reference to NFL player protesters, and then trying to convert it into an issue as to whether the president is a racist. That's got to be, that to me is an explosive component that tamps down the debate that you just outlined.
Oh, and absolutely. And for all the people who are saying this now, the great thing about being in 2017 is we have the benefit of video. So roll back all these people from 2015, 2014, 2013, all the way back to 2011, and see what they were saying about the issue then, because the issue has remained the same. I think what President Trump has done, I call him the greatest media genius of our generation, because he absolutely knows how to read the media zeitgeist. You always see the media that, well, Trump is watching cable news all day. He's on the internet all day. What he's doing, monitoring public opinion, paying attention to what issues his base is talking about, what's trending, what they're tweeting about, and he knows how to push and prod them whenever there's something that he wants to keep us from paying attention to. The same way that the SOB comment came the week before the failure of Obamacare repeal. Remember when he tweeted out the transgender ban was the day before the failure of the skinny repeal. So whenever he has a big issue coming up, he tries to distract with a cultural issue so his base won't revolt about, well, why is there no wall? Why is Obamacare still here? And why haven't we seen the reforms that you said you were going to bring? He can use these cultural issues to distract from those main facts.
It's actually quite brilliant as you outline it right there. It's absolute genius because it's almost, dare I say, it's almost a tactic of the left of deflection and misdirection. And to see it used by President Trump, he turned it from an issue of that I believe, and I agree with what you say, is a serious issue that can be dealt with through legislation and through a change of culture in local police departments. But he turned it into an issue regarding the national anthem and patriotism and American pride. Truly was a brilliant stroke.
Yeah, this is why I say he's the media genius of our generation, because few people have that. It's almost like if you watch old kung fu movies, they would have the drunken master on the side of the road. So, the heroes coming in, Then there's like just a drunk guy who pretends to be crazy on the side of the road, and then he'll just jump up and be the grand kung fu master. That's the role that Trump likes to play. And that he tries to pretend that he's off kilter and crazy, and the media eats it up like, oh my God, what's wrong with them? And the whole time he's playing them for fools. So what he does, he throws these issues out. He changes the narrative because he has the biggest microphone on earth. He can change world policy in 140 characters. So he throws people off of the scent. Then that gives him time to work through his actual legislative agenda. We haven't talked at all about what's in the new tax cut plan and who's this going to affect. We haven't talked at all about, well, why did Graham Cassidy fail? Because we've been talking about these cultural issues, and the media just loves a good race story. They sop it up. This like mother's milk to them. So he's brilliant in the way he does it. But I think this is a place where liberals and conservatives can actually come together, because if you look at the raw numbers, more white people get shot by the cops every year than black people. There are more cases of over-policing and brutality against white people than black people. So it's not a race issue. So if both sides just came together and said, well, let's address it, then you wouldn't have the overarching racial aspect to it. But by turning into a race issue, you get the conservative media on one side, the liberal media on one side, and they just butt heads instead of attacking the problem.
Yeah, and I guess my next question is, as we're talking to Robert Patillo, who is a conservative Democrat and a radio show host out of the Atlanta area, I guess my next question, following from what you said, is the divide too wide right now to even think about having coverage whereby you actually talk about issues and policy failures and policy initiatives and all this? It seems like we may be too far gone, at least at this point, to even start to do that.
Well, I don't think so, and that's why I'm glad that we've had the democratization of information through the internet. By having talk radio stations, by having internet podcasts and blogs, you can actually have deeper conversations than just the standard 60-second cable news back and forth. I'll go on Fox News every few weeks, and afterwards I'll have conservatives in my emailing me or mentioning me on Twitter, and they'll say, you crazy liberal SOB, this and the other. But then after I go back and forth with them over a couple messages, we come to a place where we can understand. So it's just about getting the two sides to talk. It's almost like you're doing a divorce, where the two sides come in at loggerheads. So once you can start getting them talking, you can get to an agreement. You might not get them back together and back in love, but you can at least get to an agreement where they can split up the house, the property, and the kids.
Absolutely. Now, I know that you're a civil rights attorney in your real life. And just like me, I think every attorney wants to not be an attorney for their whole life, and they actually want to make a difference. Talk a bit about your talk radio show and how you're bringing this about in the Atlanta area. By the way, folks, if you're in the Atlanta area and you're listening to CBS Radio and WAOK AM 1380 from 1 to 4, you can check out Robert's show. Tell everybody what they can expect from hearing from you on your show.
Well, it's a very fair-sided conversation. We will have everything from Pan-African black nationalists to the Ku Klux Klan on, depending on the week. I call it a conversation, not confrontation. So I don't come in with an agenda. It's more so about just presenting every aspect of a discussion and letting the listener make up their own mind about it. I'm not here to shove my opinion down your throat. I want to give you enough information where you can make an informed decision.
That's so adult of you. I don't know if I can talk to you anymore. You're being too much of an adult right now. No, but you know what? That's a goal of our show as well. I always tell people, don't take my word for it. Here's the information you can look up yourself, and you make your own decision on it. I think that's a very mature thing. It's very rare to see, not only in talk radio, but just in politics in general lately. And I'm very glad to... Listen, I'm agreeing with a conservative Democrat on my own radio show. What is the world coming to, Robert?
Well, the interesting thing is, I grew up in South Georgia in a little town called Waverly Hall. So you have the black people on one side of town, and you have the conservative white folks on the other side of town. We go to church together, we go to school together, we fish together, we listen to the same music, we go to the same parks, do all the same things, and the only thing that we disagree on is politics. And so as long as we allow the political system to create these divisions and disagreements, that's how the upper ruling oligarchical classes are able to keep us down, to keep us poor folks snipping and fighting at each other while they run off with all the money. So I think when we bridge that divide, we're going to see real changes in the country, because the same problems with the white working class are the same problems with the urban black people who also have the same economic anxiety.
I'm so happy to hear you say things like this, and I think we need more people like you, Robert, saying things like this. A lot of the issues today know no color, and they don't know partisanship, and they're all issues that we all need to face together. And I'm glad to find a partner on the other side that I can be able to talk to more often about this.
Anytime, I'm always here for you.
Well, listen, everybody, check out Robert's show. If even if you're not in the Atlanta area, find the live stream for WAOK AM 1380 from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Robert gives listeners a no-nonsense commentary, as you can hear, and discusses many of the prevailing issues. Check him out on the interwebs as well, on Facebook, / Robert Patillo. Patillo, I keep trying to make you Spanish. I keep doing that. I gotta stop doing that. On Twitter, there you go. On Twitter, at Robert Patillo, and also on Instagram, the same. And you can check him out on the YouTubes, Jobs, Justice, and Dreams. He doesn't have a face for radio, folks. He's actually quite a good-looking guy, if I may say so. Robert Patillo, thanks so much for coming on. And listen, I want to definitely continue the discussion with you, not only on, as an attorney and a professional level, but on a personal level, man, you're cool as hell. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thanks for having me.
Time for a little music. We call this, What the F*** is Maxine Waters Saying?
To be clear, you believe it would have been better to keep in place an FBI director who you said had no credibility to oversee this investigation than to find someone who you think would be a better choice?
No. But I believe the president thought that. Don't forget. You're talking about what some Democrats said, what I said, but don't forget, he was the president. The president supported him. You had confidence in him. It was within his power. And
but you said he had no credibility, so it would seem to make sense that he should get rid of him.
No. Under investigation, this president basically has interfered with an investigation where he may be implicated. That's outrageous, and that's why we're having so much of a conversation about it today.
The bottom line is that you think an FBI director without credibility would have been best served in this position to try to pursue this investigation.
I think if the president had fired him when he first came in, he would not have to be in a position now where he's trying to make up a story about why it does not meet the smell test.
Yeah, something smells all right.
Understood. So if Hillary Clinton had won the White House, would you have recommended that she fire FBI Director James Comey?
Well, let me tell you something. If she had won the White House, I believe that given what he did to her and what he tried to do, she should have fired him.
So she should have fired him, but he shouldn't have fired him. This is why I'm confused.
No, you're not confused.
Yes, I am. What you heard just now was not only funny, I thought it was pretty damn funny. Not only outdated because it was back from some months, it was probably the best funny clip that we ever played here behind enemy lines. And of course, you recognize that as Maxine Waters, but now you can call her something else other than a congresswoman or whatever expletive you choose to do. You can now call her the 2017 Buffoon of the Year. Yes, folks, the voting has ended. We did it for a whole month of December. And Auntie Maxine, I don't even know how to say that anymore. I'm having a lot of trouble with words in this first show. I promise we'll do better next show. Maxine Waters is your new Buffoon of the Year. And let me just thank everyone, especially all the people at Less Government, More Fun, who sponsored the contest all month long. Thousands upon thousands of people came to Behind Enemy Lines Radio. Probably our biggest audience at www.behindenemylines.radio.us. They came, they voted in droves, well over 1,000 votes for Buffoon of the Year. So proud to have partnered with Less Government, More Fun, a great organization. But the fun isn't over just yet. Yes, the voting may be done and we may have crowned our winner. But you'll see next week, the fun's just beginning with our reigning and defending and undisputed Buffoon of the Year. Here's one that I even forgot about that we did earlier in the year of 2017, part of our best of what you may have missed. Senator Elbert Guillory from the great state of Louisiana. Chris from Lanterns is going to help me on the pronunciation of Louisiana. I know that there's a special way to say it, but my Brooklyn's getting in the way.